America consumes electricity and oil as much as we consume oxygen, but how could the energy industry possibly match production with such high demand? Old methods of renewable energy is perceived as too costly and non-efficient, so instead the industry found its answer in hydraulic fracturing, otherwise known as fracking. A fracking well drills straight down until it reaches bedrock and then curves into a horizontal line to extend the well in ways a conventional well cannot. The well is then perforated to create cracks around the well, and fracking fluid is flushed into the well to expand the fractures and create larger fissures, all to help more shale oil rise to the well surface. Once drained of all oil, the fractured part of the well is then plugged off and the perforating process is repeated in a different section.
So I like to describe it this way. I don't know if you've ever been around an obnoxious kid at a sandwich shop, but he or she may take the straw, it's usually a boy, take the straw and poke it into the sandwich and then suck sandwich out of the end of the straw. Now when you do that, you're going to get a little pastrami, but you're going to get a lot of bread. But imagine if you could go into the sandwich sideways. Then you can get all the pastrami or tuna salad or chicken salad or cheese or whatever vegan meal, whatever it is. You could get it all that way. And that's the principle behind modern, what's called hydraulic fracturing.
The attractiveness of oil has always been repellent to the unappealing nature of renewable energy in terms of profit, which seems to be the only aspect of black gold that big oil companies concern themselves with.
The problem with renewable energy right now is multi-pronged, as you might imagine. But the first thing is oil and coal are so cheap. Nobody pays for putting the carbon in the atmosphere. That's the drag right now. The renewables are not, it's hard to make them compete when these other energy sources are so heavily subsidized.
Fracking recovers greenhouse gases, but the most produced gas is methane, which is 20 times more potent than CO2, and when burned, produces much more negative effects to the climate than even coal does, immensely contributing to the phenomenon of global warming. In fact, even the process of hydraulic fracturing requires a large consumption of energy, which ironically is what they aim to produce, and about 3% of the recovered gas is lost in extraction and escapes into the atmosphere. But as much as fracturing contributes to air pollution, pollution is a greater threat to populations drinking water. As soon as a well is exhausted, the law permits a company to dump their fracking fluid into the well and seal it in. The risk of this transaction becomes apparent when the chemical mixture contaminates underground drinking sources and the water becomes subsequently toxic to the human body, resulting in a variety of harmful conditions caused by any one of over 700 known chemicals in fracking fluid. The contamination of the water is so severe that it cannot even be cleaned in a treatment plant, and sources of water have already been polluted due to human negligence. Nearby civilians have had to succumb to a lack of pure water. Instead, they get a mixture of water and fracking fluids available at the convenience of their home faucet. The mixture reeks of black and death, but it is not the biggest problem fracking has caused for them. That title goes to an anomaly called earthquakes.
The Earth at depth is under stress. It's under stress from the weight of the rocks above it, and it's also under stress from tectonic stresses in the crust. When we're fracking, we're injecting pressurized fluid underground. We're doing this in order to actually make cracks in the rock of interest in order to get the gas out. However, during your fracking operation, if you intersect a pre-existing fault, that pressurized fluid can find that fault and unpin it just a little bit and allow an earthquake to occur. Once we've recollected all the fracking fluid at the surface, it needs to be disposed in a more permanent way. We inject fluids underground, and if it intersects a fault, it could cause an earthquake at that point.
Oklahoma has been hit the worst by these specialized earthquakes. Once only hit by 3 earthquakes with a magnitude of 1.5 per year, the state currently records about 2.5 earthquakes of the same magnitude over the course of a day. And as long as oil companies continue to buy elections and keep elected officials in their back pockets, the power of affected civilians is heavily restrained, and the antics of the oil industry will continue to reign over this country. The earth is in grave danger from the oil industry, and with that comes hazards to its inhabitants. Humanity must look towards renewable sources of energy in an uncertain future and stand against those who confuse their wealth with power.